Welcome to the first episode of The Truth Behind the Camera. I'm your host, Jordan Climbs, and in this series of podcasts, we will be going over some of the misconceptions behind the sports media industry. In this episode, we will be interviewing Rachel Henderson as well as Adam Duell, two young studs in the sports media field, and we will also talk to Alex Cartman, a boss of the two young players in the industry. I'm Jordan Climbs, and this is The Truth Behind the Camera. We're here with our first guest today, Rachel Henderson. Rachel, without further ado, just tell us a little bit about what you do in the industry.
So in the industry, something that I've started doing this year specifically is directing. So I have directed about 7 games this year for our ESPN, either ESPN Plus or ESPN3. But I also like to see myself as a little bit of a utility player. I know how to run all cameras. I know how to run our replay operation machines. I know how to do graphics, technical direct, and even know how to associate direct.
So that's a lot of things you talked about. I imagine it gets pretty busy. Life is pretty hectic. So how do you manage that stress and the busyness?
Sometimes they're better than others. I don't really handle stress the best when it comes to broadcast, but I've slowly figured out my routine where I spend a lot more time focusing on broadcasting, and then on my days that I have times, if the homework's not bad, if I don't have many videos to edit, I'll spend time with my friends and just kind of disconnect from everything. But really, my planner is the biggest thing that helps me out with all of this. I jot down notes on what I need to do throughout the day. I even plan my day out accordingly on what I need to do, just to keep my head on straight and making sure I don't forget anything.
And a lot of people, when they're thinking about going into sports, they think about it as being this glamorous business where everything's really fun. You get to be around your favorite players and favorite sports. But when you're working in sports behind the camera, it's maybe not as glamorous as people like to make it seem. So in what ways have you seen the stereotypes kind of be broken down and changed a little bit?
So the best thing I can tell you, or example to give you, is I work for the Cincinnati Bengals as a utility, and it is glamorous. It's a lot of fun. I still get emotional when I'm on that field, but we don't really touch on the before and after. Like when you're working the game, it's pretty easy. We all know our positions. We know where we need to go. But when you have strike and you need to tear down 4 trucks full of equipment and pulling power cables that are a lot heavier than me, it takes a wear and tear on your body. So that's one thing. If you're going into this industry, you have to be happy. You have to be healthy to be able to do it, because you're going to get, the older you get, the more your body's going to break down, and you can't quite do this work anymore, because I know there's been a lot of cases of carpal tunnel and stuff like that. But one thing that I will say is you just really got to love it here. It is glamorous if you see it in a glamorous way, but you also have to know that there is a lot of hard work involved as well with this.
Well, Rachel, thank you for your insight, and thank you for joining us. For more on The Truth Behind the Camera, we're here with Adam Duell. He's a young stud in the sports media industry, and we're just going to learn a little bit about what he does and then continue to talk about some misconceptions behind the sports media industry. Adam, thanks for joining us. Let's get right into it. Just going to give some background of what you've done in the industry so far.
Yeah, so I mean, I do a lot of freelancing as much as I can, and I'm still young in the industry, so a lot of my roles have been like in utility positions or parab, which is the microphone on the side of the field, like very low level stuff. But I'm starting to get more and more opportunities as I climb my way up the food chain.
And Adam, you're a student at Ball State, just like I am as well, and you've done some student productions here. So can you kind of briefly summarize what you've done for those?
Yeah, so started off as a camera op like most of us do, and then I guess I was interested in the graphical side of the broadcast, so I started with that, and started to get more opportunities with that. And then spring semester last year, I produced 3 men's volleyball games on ESPN with SportsLink, so it was some cool opportunities, and definitely grateful for those chances that people took on me to be the producer. Yeah.
Well, you said over break you were working games, so that means that you're a busy guy. So how do you manage the stress and the busyness of the industry?
You just kind of you deal with it. You realize that it's worth those little long periods of time where you're doing the grunt work, where you're doing the hard work, and you're not working the most comfortable hours, because you eventually want to just work your way up the food chain. And I suck it up and deal with it. A lot of other people complain about it. I deal with everything, all the stresses and everything. And some people don't, and that's why I'm further along in the industry than others.
That's a fair point, and it's something that, it's a big misconception about the industry is that it's going to be easy and fun, but there is a heck of a lot of work that's gone into it, as you've said. So let's kind of dive into it even more. What's been different than you expected going in?
Good question. In high school, I was always, we would do a quote-unquote full strike of all the broadcast equipment after every game, and we were out of there within an hour, and that's us taking our time. And now you're on these bigger productions. Like I think I did a Thursday night football game this year and a Sunday night football game, and people are like, oh, it's gonna be a great night for you, a great game. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't really care about the game. I care about the opportunity I'm given. They're like, oh, it'll be so much fun. I'm like, yeah, it'll be so much fun when you're pulling cable at the bottom of a stadium at 4:30 in the morning. That's just fun. But it's worth it because eventually you're gonna work up the food chain and get somewhere in this industry. Yeah.
Adam, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, no problem.
Next up, I'm here with Alex Cartman. He is a director for SportsLink at Ball State and is in charge of a lot of the production here and oversees what Rachel and Adam have done. So I'll have you explain a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, as part of the SportsLink program and digital sports production, I help oversee the program in all aspects. My specialization is on event production, live broadcasting, and those sorts of things, and then I help oversee some of our shoots that we do for candid shoots and intro videos, as well as helping tell stories and doing interviews.
And on this podcast, we talked to Adam Duell and Rachel Henderson a little bit, and they told us what they do here, what they've done elsewhere. So just kind of each individually, how have you seen them grown here at Ball State so far and grown in their specific profession?
Yeah, with Rachel specifically, I've seen her be eager from day one to learn and try to build her skills up and getting herself into a position to now be one of our main directors of broadcasts. That is calling the shots for an ESPN production, choosing camera angles, relaying information, and being one of the lead front bench people for us. Adam, on the other side, came in with some high school experience in doing live production, so we threw him into the fire right away and gave him some producing opportunities, and he's grown and flourished through that. Working with him to try to build his skill set there and be able to do that. And for both of them, it's balancing what they do outside the classroom with what they're doing with us, because Rachel works with our Chirp Vision program, starting to do freelance work, and Adam has been doing freelance work since before he got here in the Cincinnati market.
And so they'll continue to do more stuff as they're here, but based on what they've done so far, how will their contributions to SportsLink and to kind of build them into getting jobs in the future?
I don't see any reason why they have any hindrances to getting jobs. They've built up a resume that rivals some of our graduates, just as underclassmen and people who've only been in the program 2 years. They've shown that from day one, if you take advantage of opportunities, you're going to be able to build your skills and be able to get a job and freelance duties while you're still in college based on the experiences you're having here. So I don't see any reason that they have issue. I think that's what we expect from all of our incoming freshmen and anyone who's in the program, is to find the opportunities, be eager to ask questions, and take advantage of everything in front of them. And if they do so, the rest falls into place.
We thank all of our guests for their contributions and their really interesting thoughts that make us all think. Again, we talked to Rachel Henderson and Adam Duell to tell us more about the sports media field, as well as Alex Cartman to give us a broader overview of what it is to be a boss and to kind of break down the work ethic and how that gets people the extra mile. So even if you're not a big sports fan or sports media member, this is also important because it goes to show how important work ethic is. Thank you all for listening to the first episode of The Truth Behind the Camera. Make sure to follow us on social media at The Truth Behind the Camera on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And make sure to subscribe to this podcast as well to hear more. We'll be back in 3 weeks for another episode. Thank you all for listening. I'm Jordan Climes. This has been The Truth Behind the Camera.